Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. and time for the regular scheduled June 11, 2024 meeting of the Natchitoches Parish School Board. Board members and visitors, would you please silence your cell phones and all electronic devices as to not interrupt the meeting. Ms. Harvey, please offer the invocation, and Ms. Dr. Gasky is the pledge. And before we start, please remain standing after the pledge for a moment of silence.
Everyone, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussions as to allow growth and closure and nurture the bonds of our communities. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please remain standing. We'd like to offer a moment of silence for Ms. Mitty Calhoun. Ms. Mitty was a longtime teacher's aide at Marksville. She was part of the Green Thumb program, and she was many years she's been at Marksville. She recently passed away in her mid-90s, so it's been quite a while since she worked with us. Please join me in a moment of silence and respect. Thank you very much. Ms. Roberts, will you do a roll call?
Mr. Dancy?
Here.
Mr. McClure?
Here.
Mr. Denfield?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Present.
Mrs. Gasky?
Here.
Ms. Palmer?
Here.
Ms. Phelps?
Here.
Ms. Carter?
Here.
Mr. Brady?
Somewhere around. He's here.
Mr. Nicholson? And Ms. Page?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Board members, Ms. Robin Cosenza sent out an update on your school email for your continuing education points that it's necessary for us to comply with the law. So if you would, double check those and make sure they're correct. The policy committee members, please check your calendars for the next 2 weeks. We've got one section of the policy manual which the LSBA is sending us over the next, say, 10 days or so. And we'd like to have a meeting at the end of June and wrap up everything and vote on completion in July. One other thing, board members, we'll have a call meeting on June 25th at 5 p.m. in this room. The Governor Landry is signing things left and right, and we're having to deal with some of the things that he's putting in action. So we'll be catching up with him. July 1st is when a lot of these things come into play. So June 25th at 5 p.m. So set your calendar for that, please. Okay. Any comments before we get rolling? Superintendent Eloy.
Thank you, President Benhill. I have a few updates, but before I get to those, I'd like to first start off because Ms. Pam was supposed to be here last week, but I gave her the wrong date, so I apologize for that. But she's here with her crew today, and so she has a presentation on 4-H and what they're doing and how awesome they are, and I'd like to give her a chance to tell us all about that, and then I'll move on to my updates.
Okay, perfect. Thank y'all so much for having 4-H join y'all today. We're just super proud of our program, and we're happy to be here and share some of the highlights that's going on in Natchitoches 4-H. So the biggest thing that I want to tell y'all is that we are the 4th largest program in the state of Louisiana, and we're the largest rural program of all the parishes. We're the largest in the Northwest region, and that includes parishes like Caddo and Bossier, and parishes that should have much more enrollment than we do. So we're super excited. I've been here 7 years, and this is my coworker, Miss Amanda Clark, and she's fabulous, y'all. And we've built a program that we are so excited about and so proud of. Just 7 short years ago, when I walked into Natchitoches Parish 4-H, we had 360 members. Today, we're boasting nearly 1,100 members, and we're serving 4,300 students in group enrollment. Busting out the seams, and that's a great problem to have. We're in every school in the parish that has 4-H age kids, And next year, our hope is to go into LP Vaughn and start a Clover Buds program. And that's just a pre-4-H program that Miss Amanda and I go in and teach. This year, tell them just a bit about our Clover Bud program this year, Miss Amanda.
This year we did an exciting Lego lesson study with the Clover Buds. So every month we would go into schools and bring Legos, or the kids would be thrilled, and then we would have a story to go along with it. So for example, we read Humpty Dumpty After the Fall, which is a little twist on Humpty Dumpty, and they got to build a wall and tell us all about it. And so that was just a great program for the Clover Buds of the parish, and they really enjoyed it, and they're begging us to bring Legos back next year.
And they all think they're engineers, and they are, right? Because that's what we tell them. And so this is just a way to get to spark some interest and to teach some new skills to little kindergarten through third graders once a month. And so we're excited about that program. In addition to our Clover Buds, over the past 3 years, we've had 350 youth participate in Camp Grant Walker, which is 4-H camp that's been around for 100 years. And this summer, July 1st through the 4th, we're taking 50 kids from throughout the parish. We have given 9 camp scholarships, so we have 9 kids in the parish that are going absolutely free to camp. So we're giving opportunities to some kids that may not have that opportunity otherwise. We're excited about that. We took 20 kids to Challenge Camp, which is a camp for 7th and 8th graders. We gave scholarships for that. We have Lost Camp, which is a science and technology camp for 7th and 8th graders. That's coming up in August. We're sending kids. We've gone to Fashion Camp. We have kids that have won the state record book contest. We had kids that won the Disney Leadership Institute. We had 3 kids last year that got to go to Disney World absolutely free, okay, for a week. What other club gives that, y'all? You know what I'm saying? We have taken kids to Washington, D.C., to the National Ignite Summit. We've had kids present to their peers in Washington, D.C. at the National Ignite Summit. So we're nationwide, y'all. I mean, we're doing it, okay? Our kids are fabulous. The Natchitoches Parish kids are tremendous. And we're taking these kids where they are and building great leaders and great citizens. And so it's something to be proud of. And I know that y'all see this every day in the classroom or, you know, in the schools, but to take them outside of that setting and to continue, you know, what they're already getting in the school is just, it's just really rewarding for us. Natchitoches Parish in the last 4 years has had 4 volunteers become inducted into the Louisiana 4-H Hall of Fame. You know, we're driven by volunteers. Miss Amanda and I are just 2, and we're serving over 5,000 kids at one point or another in the year, and so we rely on our volunteers to help us out. And so 4 of those people have been inducted into the Louisiana Hall of Fame, and we're proud of that. One group of kids produced a national video, a 4-H camping video, and so that was a pretty neat opportunity. This year, our state service project is hunger and poverty, and we know a lot about that, don't we? I mean, we really do. Everybody thinks Natchitoches, City of Lights, Front Street, and even I did before I moved here and started working here. That's not where it's at. We have so much hunger, we have so much poverty, and so it really touched us that State 4-H saw the need, not just Natchitoches Parish, but other parishes, to try to reach out and to see what we can do as an organization to address some of these issues. In Natchitoches, just this year, we've established 2 free little pantries. One's right outside our office, and every day we fill it about 4 times a day, and people come by and empty it. You say, where do you get the supplies to fill that pantry? Well, we've partnered with Service League, we've partnered with the Black Male Alliance at Northwestern. We've written grants to receive stuff to put in these pantries. People are hungry, y'all. People are needy in our area. And so we probably could stock it more than 4 times a day, but we first started stocking it once. As the notion became popular, we're now up to 4 times a day. So it's really an eye-opener. We have 2 of those pantries in the parish. Also, one of our 4-H'ers wrote a grant with Miss Myers Foundation, and she built Victoria's Community Garden. And so we have a garden there, and people can go and get produce. There's cabbage right now that's ready. It's past ready to be picked. I think she has onions and potatoes over there. So that's another way to address hunger and poverty. We also wrote a grant back in the spring, and we provided nearly 200 fourth graders at Weaver, and we had a program called Breakfast for Brains, and we packed them breakfast bags to give to them before state testing. And so the kids really enjoyed that. And, you know, we weren't looking for kids necessarily just in poverty, because nobody wants to say I'm in poverty. We gave it to every one of them, so all of them would get that little Breakfast for Brains program. And this summer, Miss Amanda and some of our team leaders are going to Weaver every Thursday for their summer program. They're serving all the students in the parish with a summer school program, and we're doing some healthy living activities, and we're trying to teach them, you know, ways that they can help themselves. So those are just some ways that Natchitoches 4-H is trying to address hunger and poverty in our area, since it's so prevalent. Natchitoches Parish 4-H awarded over $6,000 in scholarship to our seniors this year. So we're super proud of that. You can tell, you know, I know that I'm excited and enthusiastic about this. I believe in this program, y'all. There's nothing compared to 4-H. And I was a classroom teacher for 28 years, and so I know about all the clubs and the organizations. I'm a product of 4-H, my children are, and I want every child to have this opportunity to be a part of our program, because I know what it can do for you. So talking a little bit about hunger and poverty, Miss Amanda has a little poverty simulation that she wants y'all to participate in, because sometimes we forget, and sometimes we just need to be reminded or open our eyes to things that's going on right here around us. So Miss Amanda?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Before you proceed, you know, people historically picture 4-H as showing animals.
Cows and cooking.
That's it. So how many people do we actually have doing cows and
Not very many. Our livestock program, we might have 12 participants.
out of how many kids?
1,100.
So what do the rest of them do?
So they're doing science and engineering and technology, and they're doing leadership and citizenship and anything that you can imagine. They're doing photography, they're doing healthy living. We took 4 teams right here from Natchitoches Parish and participated in the Louisiana State 4-H Food Challenge, and that's where they were given a budget. They had to purchase the groceries and prepare a meal, and not only did they have to prepare that meal, they had to tell about it. They had to tell about the nutritional value, the cost analysis. So we're modern. I mean, we're up to snuff, you know, as far as what we're doing is relevant.
16 or 18 years ago, I had children in the 4-H leadership program. You had 14 people in the entire parish. How many do you have now?
Now we have 60 junior leaders that come every third Monday of the month, and we're doing a community service every third Monday of the month. We're having extended lessons. We're team building. You know, we spend an hour together, and it's just an awesome time. And with those 60 junior leaders, we're taking nearly 40 next week to LSU to the state contest. Who was in 4-H in here? Okay, so back in the day, the state contest for high school kids or 8th grade and up was called short course. Now it's called 4-H University. So we're taking nearly 40 kids. Every one of these guys are going with us next week to participate. Bella's going in fashion. She's doing meat identification, and Xavier's doing consumer food judging. So there's something for everybody. And again, we do still have those traditional projects, but we're relevant. We're meeting the needs of what the kids want to do in 2024.
And for those who don't know it, you can look on the Louisiana website. Natchitoches Parish is number 3 in the state poverty.
Yes.
Number 3. You would think that we would be on the bottom, but we're on the top as far as the highest need poverty.
And people don't know that. I mean, you know. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm sorry that I didn't ask. Okay.
Awesome, just awesome.
Thank you so
No
much.
idea that y'all did so much. 4-H was so active and had so many programs that helped meet the community need.
Yes, ma'am. We have Natchitoches Parish 4-H Facebook. If you're not following us, please do. And we post so much of the stuff that we do because we want to stay connected to the community, and we want y'all to see what we're doing. We're proud of what we're doing. Question?
I just know a statement.
Yes, sir.
Our Natchez Central and our Lakeview program, boys program, FFA, all of the things that's going on in Natchez Parish right now is really great. They're competitive in all the events they compete in all over the state. And it's just growing and thriving.
Yes, sir.
And it's getting bigger in the state of Louisiana every year.
As a matter of fact, Natchez Parish is boasting 41 state titles right now from contests. So Natchez Parish 4-H has 41 state titles today.
And the ribbon cutting at,
Victoria's
at
Garden.
Victoria, which is, I think, is where I
Yes.
met y'all the first time.
Yes, yes, sir.
We had a really good turnout. Dr. Noah was there, a lot of support. It's just a lot going on that people right here around us don't know about.
People typically want to support good stuff. Any other questions or comments before we start our activity? All right, guys, I'm going to let Miss Amanda.
Okay, y'all, so I have the pleasure of introducing, this is Bella Clark, this is Isabella Soto, and this is Davian Callahan. And these young ladies and men have given their time and they've come here to present this to y'all today. But also, not only are they our Natchez Parish 4-H members, but these are some of our outstanding Natchez Parish junior leaders. They are the ones, they are like the hands and feet of 4-H. They are the ones out there doing the community services. They're the ones that are in the grocery store picking out the foods that are going to go in the food pantry and stocking it. They're the ones that pack the breakfast for brains bags. So our junior leader program is outstanding. We're thankful that they came here tonight to help us out. And they are going to begin passing out some colored paper. Y'all can go ahead. What we're going to do is everybody's going to get up and we're going to line up across the back of the room facing this direction. And Isabella is going to read some prompts and she's going to give you some directions. So she might say, if you have a blue card, this is your situation. And you will either take a step forward or take a step back or whatever her prompt tells you to do. So once you receive your card, if y'all would join me in the back of the room and we'll get started.
Officer, you want to play?
I better stay on this thing and just watch. Yeah.
I think he needs to play.
I think so too.
My question is, we can use this for intelligence.
If you have a blue card, you grew up speaking English as your first language. Take 2 steps forward. If you have a yellow card, you grew up speaking English as a second language, but eventually learned English well. Take 1 step forward. If you have a red card, you never really learned English until you were an adult. Take 1 step backwards. If you have a yellow card, your family owned a car when you were growing up. Take 1 step forward. If you have a blue card, your family owned 2 or more cars. Take 2 steps forward. If you have a red card, your family didn't own a car and you were dependent on public transportation or rides from others. Take a step back. If you have a red card, you had to go through winters without heat and summers without air conditioning. Take a step back.
Some of you need to be out the door.
If you have a blue or yellow card, you did have these things. Take a step forward. If you have a blue or yellow card, you had your own bed growing up and didn't have to share with your siblings or parents. Take a step forward. If you have a blue card, you were able to travel on an airplane as a child to go on a trip, see new places, visit relatives, etc. Take one step forward. If you have a red card, you lived in an unsafe area affected by violence. Take 3 steps back.
I'll just stay on that back wall.
If you have a yellow card, you sometimes have to worry about your safety growing up. Take 1 step back. If you have a blue card, you never had to worry about safety growing up. Take a step forward. If you have a yellow or blue card, you had health insurance and access to a doctor or hospital if needed when you were growing up. Take a step forward. If you have a red card, you didn't have these things. Take a step back. If you have a blue or yellow card, you breathe clean air growing up. Take a step forward. If you have a red card, you live, play, and went to school in a place where the air was very polluted. Take a step back. If you have a blue or yellow card, you were able to go to school every day as a child and had a decent education growing up. Take a step forward. If you have a blue card, you were also able to go to a 4-year college. Take 2 steps forward. If you have a yellow card, you went to technical school or perhaps received your associate degree from a community college. Take a half a step forward. If you have a red card, you did not have any further education after graduating from high school. Take 1 step back. If you have a red card and are standing to the left of the middle line, take another step back. You didn't receive a good education in grade school or high school. You may have lived in an area with a failing school system, or your school may have had very limited resources and students do not have access to the materials or education needed to succeed. Take another step back. If you have a red card, your family didn't have access to a phone or television when you were growing up. Take 1 step back. If you have a blue or yellow card, you always had access to a computer and the internet when you needed it. Take 2 steps forward.
You mean since it was invented?
If you have a yellow or blue card, you always knew where your next meal would come from. Take a step forward. If you have a red card, you sometimes have to skip meals because your family didn't have enough money. Take a step back. If you have a red card and are standing to the right of the middle line, the community where you grew up experienced severe drought which limited your access to food or flooding, which destroyed homes. Take a step back. If you have a blue or yellow card, you went on vacation growing up, meaning that you went somewhere new and enjoyed and learned about other places and cultures. take one step forward. If you have a red card, you were homeless as a child or had to live with relatives, another family, or in a shelter, take 3 steps back. If you have a blue card, you had a bank account, savings account, or some other financial savings created for you as a child, take 2 steps forward. If you have a yellow card, your family saved money for you in a college fund, take 1 step forward. If you have a red card, your family do not have a checking account or paid cash for large and small purchases, take 3 steps back. If you have a red card, your family was affected by high levels of debt growing up, such as credit card debt, difficulty making mortgage payments, or fear of or actual foreclosure on a home, take 2 steps back. If you have a blue or yellow card, you made visits to the public library to check out books, borrowed or brought books from elsewhere, or had a habit of reading regularly as a child, take 2 steps forward. If you have a blue card, you had a stable family and grew up with both parents present, take 2 steps forward. If you have a yellow card, you had 1 parent present, but a stable and loving home life, take 1 step forward. If you have a red card, you grew up in a poor community where industrial pollution from factories or chemical plants caused sickness or disease in the community, take 1 step back. And that's all.
We're 21 steps out. Literally, seriously, we're 21 steps.
Okay, the mood started off real light, didn't it? So we were laughing until we weren't. Bella's going to conclude, so if you'll just stay standing, she's going to wrap it up for us.
Let's take a minute to reflect. I'm going to ask you a few questions. You don't have to answer them out loud. Just think about them for a moment. Were you surprised? Why? Does this activity help you identify some of the root causes of poverty? Are there other causes of poverty in our parish? Let us join together to make it our mission to help combat hunger and poverty for Natchitoches Parish youth.
Okay, guys. Thank y'all so much for having us. Know that Natchitoches Parish 4-H is working hard to combat poverty and hunger in our parish, and will continue to do so even when it's not state 4-H's focus. The state 4-H will continue to focus this next year on hunger and poverty, but again, we will focus on that long after the state is not focusing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting our program. We are bringing lots of good things to Natchitoches Parish and offering lots of opportunities and experiences for our youth, and thank you for your support.
Thank you.
And if y'all are ever on Front Street, just stop by the 4-H office. We're right next door to Lazions, and just see what we're doing. So, all right, guys, y'all have a good evening. Yeah, right next to Lazions.
So, as I move on through the superintendent report, we now have Miss Natalie Ducote, principal at Middle Lab, is going to share some stuff with us. As she's coming up to the lectern, I would like to share that Ms. Ducote actually made it through college by showing cows, correct, Ms. Ducote?
No, that's still not. As you would like to say, selling lamps. That's how I made it through college.
I didn't know if it was goats, cows, or lambs, but either way, she's got some great news for us that I thought she needed to be here to share.
So the first question is, Mr. Wasco, what year did you start Middle Lab School?
74.
You were the very first class, correct?
All right,
I believe so. Okay, so I am principal of the Middle Lab School, and We had a very unexpected, or I had an unexpected message come through my phone the other day. A private donor met with me, and they would like to remain anonymous. Wants to refurbish some things at the Middle Lab School. It has not been touched since '73. The carpet is the original carpet in the building. The only upgrade to the school was about 5 or 6 years ago, an elevator was installed in the school, and there was some flooding, and then they had to redo the floors in the office, and the office got new floors. But besides that, our school is in the state that it was. So just wanted to let the board know that if you hear some things, that Middle Lab is receiving some paint and some carpet. We are 80% carpet and 20% tile, so it is a lot of carpet. It will be carpet tiles, and the work probably will start next week. And then we're hoping to get the school painted in the month of July. So we are a facility that belongs to the university, which belongs to the state, which belongs to taxpayers. So to get things done of that magnitude, it would definitely have to be something that would go before a legislature. So this is just a massive blessing to our school and to our students. It is literally every single classroom. I found out today I missed one very small office, and that teacher let me know that she had carpet. So we're getting that fixed, and so I just didn't want you to think that this was just some initiative or some program. This is just an outstanding human being who wants to meet the needs of students in our community, that it would be difficult to meet needs through a lot of red tape and procedure.
Mr. Cody, without giving too many details, because I don't think we're there yet, this is part of a possible multi-phase. So
I waved my businesswoman magic wand and said, "You're going to let me give you a list of everything I want?" And they said yes. So it is a 3-year plan that will address the immediate physical needs, which is painting floors. And then we're going to remodel all the bathrooms in the school, one bathroom at a time, so we do not inhibit anybody having access to the restrooms. And then we're going to put an awning on the back of the school that goes all the way from College of Ed to College of Ed's parking lot, which is where they allow us to dismiss our car line there. So it benefits College of Education as well and Northwestern students. Some upgrading to the lighting of the school will be the last one. It's the old school hanging. We need to move to LED bulbs, so that would be there. But the coolest thing is, if you have not been into Middle Lab School, it is an open air environment, similar to elementary lab school. And everybody wants to put up walls, and I believe that if we were to put up walls, it would take away from the unique nature of the school. So we are going to eventually put up walls, and it's one of the last phases, but we're going to do glass walls. So we will be able to keep students safe in classrooms, because that's always been a problem. I know as a teacher, when the sheriff's department would come over, he's like, "I don't really know what to tell y'all. Y'all have no walls." So this allows us to keep students safe, which is one of our major initiatives in the district, and allows us to maintain that open air integrity of the school. So it'll take us a while, but we're very excited.
So I would like to reiterate that this is someone who obviously sees the value, but then also it's amazing because we know that sometimes the lab schools unfortunately get some criticism of people assume we give them more than we actually do, and as board members, you know, we really don't give a whole lot.
I can stand here and say that I had the lowest budget out of all 15 principals. So.
But what's great is this is at no cost to the taxpayer. It also is able to go through red tape without dealing with it, and this person does not want to be known, which speaks to their character, but I hope I can speak on behalf of the board by saying thank you so much for looking at things that are going to immediately improve the day-to-day for students and staff.
Very much so. So, thank you.
Also, I would like to recognize, she's not here today, she's has some other things to attend to, but Miss Dana Lacaz, our SPED director, was just named, and this is a big deal, she was just named a Fulbright Leader for Global Schools Fellow through the U.S. Department of Education. And what that means is, number one, it's It was highly competitive, and she received that, and we're going to do a more official announcement. But she gets to go to Finland in January, February, sometime during that time period, and see what those daggum Finns are doing over there about education, and get to learn from international educators from all across the world who will congregate in Finland and share what's going on in Natchitoches and what's going on in Helsinki, capital of Finland. Just saying. And we'll be able to do that. And so it's a huge honor for her, and it's also a pretty cool honor for the district. So kudos to her. We also, this week, thank you, Mr. Grenville, was on my list. We were able to make an official announcement that Miss Felicia Pinckney, who is in the room, I just saw her, oh, there she is. She's officially taken on her role as Director of Student Services. And basically, if you have a truancy, behavioral, wellness issue, you're going to get mad at her, and then you can get mad at me. But we're super excited. She has some lofty goals about improving truancy. And also, I think I've told y'all the reason behind this department is to not let any child fall through the cracks. So a student may make a statement in their 5th grade year that they want to do some harm to themselves. And we go through the processes of getting them with the right people, but we want to watch them grow through the next few years and make sure that that was a one-off thing, that we provide the right wraparound services, and that didn't continue. We also want to help families who are struggling to be able to get their kids to school. It's not always laziness or malice. Sometimes it's they don't know how to do that. Very similar to what the exercise we just went through. And so Ms. Pinckney's team is going to be the safety net that prevents these kids from falling through the cracks. And so we're so excited about that. At the same time, this week, she vacated her position as Director of Academic Operations. We dissolved that position, and we took the position previously held by our dear friend, Mr. William Himes, and we converted that with some new responsibilities and made that the Director of Accountability and Testing. I'm sorry, Supervisor of Accountability and Testing, not Director. And that will be taken over, we're excited to announce, by Ms. Jamie Gilmore from Natchitoches Central. Both those positions, I'm happy to announce, again, not new positions, not added to the district, but from a fiscal perspective, we were able to make both of those positions under federal funds, which, to our point earlier last year when we were going through the budgetary concerns, will help the general fund as well. Also want to bring up today, Pastor Harris was talking to me about this as we were doing the exercise. I said, please stop talking to me. I'm trying to enjoy this, but not really. He is on, I think there's probably no board member who's more on top of the comings and goings of the Bessie and the legislature than Pastor Harris. And today, if you were watching, Bessie 11-0 passed a new accountability system that will take effect in the 26 school year. So that is going to have massive implications. I will try to share with you as much as I know about what those implications are in the July board meeting. But one of the frustrations is we do believe they are building the plane as they fly it. So I'll be able to share as much as they've built thus far. On the other side, a good thing that happened today is the governor did sign into law House Bill 762, which will allow for not every student to take the ACT test. We know there's students who don't want to take the ACT test. Mr. Mike Stewart has students going through his programs that are going to make more money than any of us. They don't want to take the ACT. Why should we force them to take the ACT? So although we have a new accountability system, House Bill 762, which I'll be honest with you, I did not expect the governor to sign, it does make us a little bit of a silver lining on today's news. All right, last thing I have is, and I know we're going long, but I'm going to just blame that on our lovely folks from 4-H, even though I think that was an amazing presentation they did. So that just means I'm going to talk longer. We did, board members, I think routinely y'all hear from staff and families who are in a state of emotions and typically anger, frustration, etc. So, and we don't want to diminish their concerns, but I think y'all hear a lot about the negative, and it's easy to think that there's a lot of negative going on, and maybe that is just to Natchitoches and all that stuff. So one of the things we've been doing this year, and I don't know if I even informed y'all of that, is we were able, Ms. Page, through a grant with LDOE, was able to offer something to all of our schools called the Upbeat Survey, to really gauge where and the one we did this year that was paid for by LDOE only included teachers. We would like to possibly pursue other entities, whether it be custodians, principals, etc. But they did 2 surveys that were completely anonymous. You could say awful things, and we had no way of telling who you were, which is how it should be. And the idea was to give us insight on where teacher morale, teacher satisfaction is, and there's a bunch of different pieces. First thing I want to tell you is it was very insightful. There was pros, there was cons. But the most exciting thing I can tell you is the fall and the spring, those implementations, because it's kind of a pre and post, both showed that when we compared our scores to the LDOE cohort, which was, I don't know how many districts in the state, but a large number of districts in the state, our teachers, on average, are happier and feel more content in this district than their counterparts in other districts. We can also compare it in a global network of literally hundreds of thousands of teachers across the United States who've taken the survey, and I can tell you that our teachers are more satisfied and happy than their cohorts around the nation. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean it's all sugar and rainbows. We still want to look at things. The other thing I can report to you is we showed this survey to our principals in the fall. And the idea was you need to take initiative on several of these things, whether it be, one of the categories was appreciation. That should be at a higher percentage. The different aspects, we basically challenged them to implement strategic things to make teachers and teacher morale better from one test to the next. What Upbeat will tell you is actually the spring test usually sees a decline nationwide, because y'all realize spring is the worst with all the activities and all the things we put on teachers, etc. We were an outlier in the entire Upbeat system because not only did we improve, but we improved so much that it's just something they don't typically see. The other thing you typically see in the spring is people who know they're leaving, they get out everything they feel. And we obviously have had people leave, but even despite that, we saw gains that were outliers. But I want to mention 2 things that I think, and then I'll end with that. 2 things that show that some of your initiatives that you supported as a board have made differences in terms of teachers. 2 areas we talked about are work-life balance. When we looked at it in the spring, teachers were telling us, my work-life balance is not good. I can tell you that not only now do we have a better work-life balance than the other districts in the state by virtue of our teachers' answers and the nation, but principals through their actions improved the work-life balance from the fall to spring survey by 10 percentage points. That's massive. So I have to say, we went to our principals and said, you have to, we're the district, we're gonna put stuff on you, the state's gonna put stuff on you, but how do you protect your teachers? And they did that. The other one that was super exciting was we grew 11 points on the career and compensation piece. Not only did we grow 11 points on that, but if you look at the spring implementation and you compare it to other Louisiana districts, we are 15% higher than all Louisiana districts in terms of how our teachers view compensation and their career pipeline. And the reason for that, when you compare us to all these other districts, is because there's only one other TAP district there's 2 others, but only one other full TAP district, and that's DeSoto Parish. The only reason our folks are looking at that, and if you look at the fall distribution, we hadn't announced TAP yet. We do the spring, TAP's announced. Teachers now know they have a pipeline to become, if I don't want to be a principal, but I want to be a mentor, I want to be a master teacher. And then they also know that they're going to make significantly more through this. And I know we've had speed bumps and different things, but I have to say all this and just kind of put finality on it and say thank you to a board who pushes me to make sure our teachers are taken care of, but then also trusts my staff and myself to implement policies that you may not fully understand, but in the long run you trust us enough that they will benefit both our students first and our teachers next. And so this is big news. I would love if any of you have interest in any more detail, I'd love to take you through this survey because it's super interactive, but I could not get away today without telling y'all how exciting that was, because one of the things I'm always hit with is, yes, we're growing, we're improving, but are we keeping that, are we also being cognizant of our morale? And this was one of those things that in the fall it kind of made my stomach drop. But in the spring I was able to say, we took a problem, we used strategy, and we improved it. Last thing I'll say is Mr. Cody's group, she had horrible scores in the fall. Not horrible, but they were reflective. She had scores that weren't too great, and we joked about this the other day. But that was reflective of one thing we had. We didn't have a principal at Middle Lab last year, correct? We had Miss Coleman, who did an amazing job covering 2 sites, but she was covering 2 sites. So we looked at her score and we said, Natalie, this is not reflective of you, this is reflective of something the district did. Her scores in the spring, which I told her in the fall, I said, your spring scores are going to be yours. She had the highest growth in the entire district because now those teachers are showing how much they appreciate the board and staff putting in a full-time principal with. So again, exciting stuff. I could talk for hours about it, but y'all don't want to hear it. And that concludes my superintendent report for the month of June.
Well, that's great news because, like you said, a lot of times the squeaky wheel gets the grease and we hear the complaints loud and clear.
So I do want to say the one thing that I get read on this survey, because it color codes it for you, is resources of your facility. So now that I'm getting new carpet, I should be all in the blue.
I caught Fulbright, I didn't get the rest.
I'm sorry, it's the Fulbright Leaders for Global Schools through the U.S. Department of Education.
Fulbright Leaders for Global Schools.
Yes.
Is she a fellow?
I believe her official term is, yeah, she'll be a fellow with that, a Fulbright Scholar.
Thank you.
Okay, board members, any questions for superintendent on that outstanding report? Okay. Consent agenda, we'd like to consider that.
Second.
Have an offer by Reverend Harris and a second by Ms. Phelps. Student handbook. Superintendent.
We actually moved that to executive. We were able to move it to executive.
Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna strike that.
Yeah, I don't know why that actually ended up there. Me and Ms. Kanika both were unsure of that.
Okay. We're gonna move item C out of consent agenda to executive report.
I think, yeah, yours isn't updated, but the rest of ours show that it is already on the executive.
Okay. Maybe I need to refresh. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, informational report, Ms. Hicks is not here. Anything to add to hers?
No, she I think updated some of the documents, as did Miss Page. Miss Page is also at a training today for recruiting. So that they have updates to their reports, but they aren't physically here to give you any updates. So it's for your reading pleasure only. But we do have Mr. Jacob Watson with Echo.
Good afternoon, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm actually joined here today by the CEO of Echo Ride, Mr. Glenn Kruger. I'm sure most of you have had a chance to meet him, but he thought he'd stop by, give me a critique of my report. So in lieu of the performance of 23-24 school year, we have decided to perform a regulatory refresher of all drivers on their LDOE training. So that training is going to be started and conducted over the next 4 weeks. Each driver will be, given their 30 hours of training, and every driver will be completed with that before we return to the next school year for 24-25. Second thing I'd like to talk about is student information management. That is the one thing that I feel like we can do better in a, we can do better in a collaborative effort, because we at Echo Ride, we want to perform the best service for all of our teachers at the district, all of our principals at the district. And to do that, we need to make sure that we have accurate information for every single student in J Campus. We even have a section in J Campus for transportation where every student can get their route added. So that is one thing going into the next school year that I would love to work with our school administrators to help get that in order. Because I want it to be a no-brainer whenever a parent calls and you be able to tell them exactly where they're supposed to go. Or if they call us, we can tell them exactly where that child's supposed to go without all the, you know what I mean? The thing about us and coming into the next school year is that we want to continue to improve for this district. Everything that we do to improve on our side, you know, collaboratively with the district, you know, enhances our efficiency and our safety with each student. And we want to be able to provide the best service we can for those two reasons, because the safety of these students is our #1 priority. Does anyone have any questions for the report?
Different topic, but very much relative. Talking about purchasing a tattletale.
So
when will that be installed?
So Mr. Kozad, we spoke about that yesterday, I think, or today. He's still in the process, and Mr. Kozad, not to put you on the spot, can you give a little bit of insight into where you're at?
Yeah, basically I just need to turn in the paperwork to Lee there, and we need to decide if we want to go with a credit card or an invoice. As soon as they'll pay it, they're going to ship the hardware to us.
That's just to go through and judge a few of the systems, correct?
Correct, the one that we're leaning towards to implement it and test it out.
To do like a beta test of it.
Okay.
And see if it works for us.
And then wide rollout, hopefully before the start.
Well, there's ones that will like, there's ones that they want to charge you $100,000 and it's just, you're paying because it looks cool. And there's ones that want you to pay $5,000 and it does nothing that you need. So we're trying to balance price with also exactly what we want. And what we're looking for is parent can literally pull up our app and embedded in that app, they will be able to, through some manner, have their bus and see where their bus is on a GPS map at that moment. Because, for example, my wife will call me. She knows the kids always get off at 4:10 on our bus. So when it's 4:20 and they're not off, she'll call me as if I know where all buses are. Instead, she'll be able to open up the map and say, oh, they're on Williams right now, and they'll be home in a minute.
So would that include the morning routes too?
Yes.
Right.
Because you know, you made mention about J Campus having, you know, I guess some type of interfacing. Will that interface?
Yes, it will. J-Campus is super powerful, and whenever it can't do anything, we ask J-Campus, and they make it do that thing.
Right.
But I think Jacob's correct. J-Campus is only as powerful as the information put into it.
That's right.
And I think I'm reading in between the lines because I think Jacob was very diplomatic. I think y'all were probably frustrated the past 2 weeks by being able to get out bus routes. And people probably automatically are like, echo, 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 where's the bus routes? What they don't understand, which we kind of like, is, is that we have to take care of a lot of things downstream for them to be able to do what they, but again, we like when they blame y'all, not us, so, you know.
And I get that. That's what I'm here for. But,
got a big show.
again, the collaborative, you know, work between us, you know, us as ECHO and y'all as the school district and our school administrators, for example, would go a long way to just curb all those questions.
You're completely on target, 100%.
Can I add on to that for just a second? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
No, we're talking about the student information portion of it in J Campus. If we're still looking into the J Campus part of it, teachers never had access to be able to go to it and say, hey, you're supposed to be on bus 6. You're supposed to be on bus 9. So there's a lot of confusion. And I know there's really the first few weeks until the kids learn their thing. But if we're still diving into J Campus.
I think you're right. I think, like I said, when I talk to Kevin Ebarb, who's kind of the guru at J Campus, and I'll be meeting with him next week at the superintendent conference. He typically tells me, he's like, yes, we can do that. Yeah, Grant, we can do any of this. And I'm like, well, why aren't you? He's like, well, have you ever asked? I'm like, touche. So, I mean, it really is, a lot of the problems that we are complaining about, there are answers. It's just a matter of kind of what Jacob said, inputting the data and making sure it's correct. And then it giving teachers access, even if it's read-only, to where they can just tell Johnny, you're on bus 5.
Right, and then when a bus is out, then the teacher knows where to guide them instead of us trying to call
any funding, trying to say, hey, I've got 42 kids in here and nobody knows what's going on because we're getting out of school early today.
Yeah. No, again, totally understand.
I know that the bus routes change from the school year to the summer.
Yes, ma'am.
And they don't go like directly, like in front of the house or close to the house. Well, are there any exceptions, when they're getting let out on a highway? Because there are some students that are getting let out on Highway 6. They're not going into the neighborhood, they're getting let out like by, I don't know if you know, you probably don't, but it's like this old Sears. So, yes, and they're third graders, they're elementary school. So the parents have to come.
By Hickory Ridge?
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, on Highway 6, yeah, I know where we're talking about, but you said by Hickory Ridge to the Oak Grove area. Am I on target there?
No, you know where Peggy's
We
Pizza
have,
is?
we have places on the opposite side of the road.
Yes, sir.
That's where they meet up right there at that corner by the highway.
Okay.
Every morning, that's where they let off me.
Gotcha.
Versus
Okay.
their parking
If
lot.
you want to look into that, and
Yeah,
then just
absolutely.
contact me, and then I'll contact you
Absolutely.
on this.
And then you have a wide, you got that wide road, so far as Mayor not Mayor.
Absolutely, yeah. No, yeah.
They probably need to put into that parking lot.
Right.
Because
Jacob, you look
that's
into
a dangerous,
Yeah,
very dangerous area.
Yeah.
I'll get with you tomorrow, and we can kind of troubleshoot, and
Yes, sir.
I'll get back with the board.
Yes, sir.
If there's anyone else that has something like that, speak up. I mean, let's go ahead and figure it all out.
On a different note, Mr. Watson, since your boss is here, we'll tell you that we love your reports. They're very professional. You're always on time, and we appreciate you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I will tell him also, I had a couple of issues when you first took over, you fixed all of them immediately. And they have been dragging on for a long time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I seem to be in the community.
I'm trying to fit it in.
Drop my check off later.
Yeah, no, I will. All right, thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Does this page have any changes?
So not on the actual, well, on the report, she always changes it from
Yeah.
1 to 1, but on the personnel section, we do have 3 additional things.
Some dates.
Okay,
That's what some of the dates are in question last
that's
week.
right, that's, okay.
Okay, I'll offer this first item.
Okay, wait, we need a thing, don't we?
Second.
I'll offer the first, this item. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I want to start off by apologizing to the board because last week I routinely perused the applications and job descriptions that are put out there, and I came upon this and it was posted, and I immediately told everyone to take it down because y'all had not voted on this item, and I apologize for that. We have put some things into place to make sure that doesn't happen again. Basically, all those things have to go through me because besides Ms. Page and myself, no one else knows when job descriptions are voted on by the board. All that aside, I do want to mention how important this is, and this is a new job, and I think y'all know how sensitive y'all are and sensitive I am to adding new jobs. But this is a job that, number one, will be paid for out of what's called Title I EL set aside. So it is specifically funded by money that is specifically for this job. So that's always good. Not going to hit the general fund, not going to take money away from schools. The other reason it's so important is currently, in our current accountability system, EL students count double, but they don't count against us double. Meaning if you move an EL student, English second language, kind of like that little thing we did, if you move them to mastery or advanced, we get double points. So there's incentive to move those kids. At the same time though, if you don't move them, you don't get dinged. Remember I talked about that new accountability system coming? We've done simulations. We have 53 English second language students. 53 students under the current accountability system will count for 12% of our entire district performance score.
Wow. Well,
So, right now we have one gentleman who is amazing, who goes throughout our parish addressing the needs of these 53 students. And, you know, that's like having 2 classes, and it works well because he also has students who speak no English, and he has kids who are right there who are probably more fluent than Lee is. But I think we would all agree when you have an area that is in need of, is going to be impacted by 12% of our entire district performance, we need a few more hands on deck. I'm fine bringing this to y'all for that reason and for the reason that it's paid for by the feds specifically for this. So, and also, again, want to apologize that went on the website without y'all's authority. So,
Okay,
What
discussion.
salary or is
That's
this
already
person
been
going
offered.
to be
Yeah,
making for this?
I believe it's yeah, 60,000 is what it. That's the funding for it. So we're not looking to go beyond that, obviously.
So this set aside money, if it wasn't for this
We
position,
we don't need to use it. There's some other allowabilities that don't really help us, like purchasing some, like, I think some equipment for like textbooks and stuff like that. We don't really have the need for that. We have the need for another person to split up the workload. But typically what's happened to that money in the past is it doesn't get spent because there wasn't enough. We would spend some of it, but not enough to put a dent in it.
Are we gonna have it yearly?
Yes.
So this
Yeah, this has to keep coming because it's a federal guideline. Basically, the feds are saying that this is a group of individuals nationwide that are growing, and we have to address their needs. Yeah.
We count on it had been a funded mandate, which is odd.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of the few times where they're funding the mandate, so that's nice.
So this is a 12-month employee?
Yes,
that
ma'am.
would be housed?
It'd be housed in this building. Yep.
Pastor Harris, you
I don't know, I just know that, that number is going.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any more discussion, board members? Have offered by Benfield, seconded by Ms. Phelps on this item. Roll call vote, Ms. Phelps.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benfield?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Frager?
Yes.
And Mrs. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Job description for next. I'm gonna turn this over to Superintendent.
Yeah, and before we even have a motion, I would ask that you table this item. We have to have something in place before July 1, but at the urging of John Geis, one of our attorneys, he's working on some stuff to give to all districts, and he has asked us to table this item. Unfortunately, what that means is that's one of the reasons we have to have the June 25th special call meeting, because we have to accomplish this prior to July 1.
Got a motion to table?
I move, so we table.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Danzy to table,
Second.
second by Ms. Palmer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Thank you. I'd like to offer this next item on the relocation side.
Second. So far, I gotta tell y'all, our job portal is blowing up in the best of ways. It's looking great. But one of the things we've run into is, even despite all that, the budget we set, we don't think we're gonna meet that budget. And so what I'd like to come to you today is to expand the eligibility to include, now mind you, I'm still going with federal allowability.
So you're saying we have extra money, we have enough?
We have enough in this budget to expand it for new assistant principals, master teachers, coordinators, principals, assistant principals, counselors, etc., that newly come into the district. Still abiding by the previous guidelines, but we can do this without amending our budget at all and impacting the budget. In fact, this will just help us to attract more qualified folks. As I told y'all earlier, Ms. Gilmore just vacated her position. We'll be posting possibly today or tomorrow for a new assistant principal at Niagara Central. So if that person were to come from somewhere else, I'm not saying they would, but if they were, we'd want to be able to incentivize that to an equal amount as the teachers.
Okay, any further discussion?
Are we asking for an increase in the stipend?
No, ma'am. The stipend stay the same.
Okay.
Expanding the eligibility.
Yeah.
And remember the stipend.
All of those people you just mentioned.
And remember the stipend is up to the quality of the teacher. They, to some degree, they dictate how much they would receive or how little they would receive based on their quality, as we find in the, what do we call these? Observations, evaluations, rather. These are, oh, and yes, this is still ESSER funds.
This is federal.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Rose, do we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. Metoyer?
Yes.
Mr. Benfield?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Frager?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ms. Palmer,
Yes. Okay.
you're on deck.
Alrighty. Let me get to 6, Finance Facilities Services and Insurance. 6A, permission to advertise for bids, technology technician, vehicles. Mr. Cosette.
I move that we approve permission for bids.
Second. Okay, I'd like to take this because Mr. Metoyer had an excellent point and question last week. What I asked Mr. Kozat to do and Mr. Walston to do is, Mr. Walston got us the quote on what this would increase our fleet insurance. And then what I asked Mr. Kozat to do is to ask how much these 3 folks who are typically driving are entitled to in terms of their mileage that they're receiving on a yearly basis. And then I'll give you some more information. So first off, the amount that we project based on our consultation with our insurance agent is $2,800 per vehicle, so times 3, that's $8,400. Mr. Kozad, he didn't want to give a very exact firm figure. He went based on historical data and everything. And so what he said is our typical cost for these gentlemen in reimbursement is $7,000 to $9,000. So you can't just say all of that $7,000 to $9,000 washes away all that $8,400, because some of that's going to stick with it. Probably 50% of it will stick with it in terms of gas. But 50% of that would go away, or would wash out some of that, if that makes sense. The other piece I can tell you is that is going to increase our insurance cost, but at the same time, we received some solid good news on our property insurance costs for the next school year. And what I can tell you is the line item for insurance, when you include fleet and also property, overall, even with the addition of that $8,400, we will see a reduction. We will see a reduction in around $40,000 total in the line item of school district insurance. So, we do believe that these vehicles will help us be more effective, efficient, etc. We do know there's some additional cost, but that additional cost will be mitigated to some degree by the cost that's already embedded already, and then further mitigated by the fact that we saw greater savings in other areas.
Okay, any discussion on this item advertised to bid? Okay, we have an offer by Ms. Phelps and a second by Mr. Danzy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Okay. 6B, award paper and cleaning products bid for the 24-25 school year. I'll offer. Second.
Okay. Got an offer by Ms. Palmer, second by Mr. Gansey.
It's all paper.
It's paper. Okay, to award the contract to Carefree Janitorial Service.
We're awarding for multiple.
Yeah, Carefree, economical janitorial paper, interborough, packaging, as well as impact. Each of these had the low bid on that portion of the item, and Ms. Hicks has signed off on it. Any discussion? Have an offer by Ms. Palmer and a second by Ms. McGaskey. Roll call vote. Ms. Russell.
Mr. Dancy?
Yes.
Mr. Matoir?
Yes.
Mr. Benfield?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Frater?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passes.
6C, discuss and consider the Rapides Foundation Youth Volunteer School District Grant for the 24-25 school year. I'll offer.
Second.
Okay, offered by Ms. Palmer, second by Mr. Fraydo. They want to give us money. Does anyone want to argue?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
6D, discuss and consider the Rapides Foundation Healthy Behavior School District Partnership Grant. I'll offer.
Second.
Okay, same, yeah. Essentially the same salary schedule that we discussed, but what are the changes on that? We discussed it last week.
No, I'm sorry, you skipped ahead to the, we still have to vote on that.
We're on D.
Oh,
We need a roll call. I mean,
He was
yeah, I'm looking at, okay, yeah, healthy. I'm sorry, we're ahead of the game here. All in favor say aye for this grant.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
okay,
Thanks
6.
for correcting.
All right, 6E, discuss and consider revisions to the Lynchburg School Board salary schedule for the 24-25 school year.
I move that we approve the revisions to the salary schedule for 24-25 school year.
Second.
Okay.
Real quick, there was just one quick item that we added. It's from legislation that's going on. The state said if you have to pay someone for duties outside of their job, so kind of like overtime, you need to put in the salary schedule how you will do that. So all we said there, and this is based on what LDOB encouraged, we take your annual salary and we from there create a hourly salary, and we put the caveat that it cannot, and it's based on new legislation, it cannot be lower than $30 an hour. So that's the only thing we added this week since you saw this last Tuesday.
And that's the last footnote on page 2. It's for teacher salary.
Well, it's actually, well, yeah, but it applies to anyone.
Well, it's just certified teachers.
Well, it applies to how we calculate anyone's hourly that potentially, because it could apply to a principal, a director,
But just to let you know,
a secretary, whoever.
the current pay of 41.5 is $33.69 an hour for a teacher. That's the lowest pay they receive.
And we cannot go below 30 by state law.
Right.
What questions do we have?
What would be considered overtime for a teacher?
There's there is an act right now that is discussing that. So I will give you a very brief synopsis, and I don't want to, unless y'all want to get in the weeds, because this is very much the weeds. Act 311 of the recent legislature, signed by the governor. It's a very easy way for the governor to give raises is to increase MFP. No matter how you feel about Jeff Landry, he did not do that. That's the simplest way to give teachers a raise. We'd be first in line to give them. Instead, they reduced from $2,000 stipend to $1,700 and reduced the MFP from where it was last year. And then implemented a rule that says if it's not expressly in job descriptions, you have to pay them extra. I did some brief math on this, and I think I shared this with one or two of y'all, that if this were to go in the way it's currently being projected, to have 3 parent-teacher conferences a year might cost us $100,000 in extra money. What the governor and his what the governor and his friends have done, his team, is what they've said is we're not going to increase MFP. We're going to do it through this means. And guess what? We know that districts are going to combat this through legal means, but we're going to throw all the blame for teacher salary then at school boards for them not being able to live up to this unfunded mandate. Because, I mean, we're literally talking about field trips and duty and so what they've done is it's a brilliant political move. They've shifted the blame for teacher pay to y'all. And so, good for him.
Ms. Page, any more questions in that area?
Not today.
Okay. So the weeds that he's talking about are definitely there.
I'm sorry for the Freudian slip. But,
So if you,
Basketball game at
so
12
if you don't
o'clock.
pay them overtime, then they don't work overtime.
yes, and so Mr. Geis right now is working through, it's a very short act, but he's working through the implications and how we address this without bankrupting our district. And literally every district is going through the same thing, so.
We are voting on this. Yes, sir, we're voting to make this change. Now, the other is what was taken. So, we have an offer by Ms. Phelps, a second by Ms. McGaskey on this salary schedule. Roll call vote, Ms. Robert.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Middlefield?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Frader?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
And real quick, I do want to say one thing, because we do believe, and I think this board believes, that when we ask teachers to do things, they should be fairly compensated. But this is one of the few districts I know of and have worked in, that if we ask you to come to a meeting, we compensate you. I can tell you, without naming names, that is not the case everywhere. There just has to be a middle ground of keeping ourselves financially viable while also respecting the professionalism of our educators.
6F, discuss and consider approving change order number 4 for the central office project.
Okay.
Look, I'll offer that item.
Second.
Okay. Now go ahead.
All right. This is what I hope to be the last change order. The previous change order was funded. Well, LDOE did give us the funding for the new, it was the windows. We're going to replace all the existing windows, which are single pane, to energy efficient double pane windows. So at the building, the central office, as well as and this change order will also be funded by federal funds. So this breaks down to roofing, some roofing adjustments. Gypsum board assembly means really new walls that we put in. Some additional painting, tile floor, plumbing, and some of this was because we got over there and discovered some of these problems. We are also looking at laminating all the doors. All the doors that were going to be installed were going to be solid core. They were going to be hollow core originally designed based on privacy. Dr. Eloy's opinion and mine as well, and I agree with it, is that we need to have a solid core door so you can't hear through it, as well as we're going to, for durability, make them laminated. And so that's also in here. It says PLAM doors, P-L-A-M doors. That's where that piece is.
Okay, paid for by federal dollars, offered by Ms.
Yes,
Phillips.
yes, sir.
Second by Mr. Dancy. Roll call, Ms. Brothers.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Middlefield?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Frader?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Oh, that concludes finance.
Thank you, ma'am.
First, policy 814.60. And that's students wishing to participate in interscholastic athletics shall have a 1.5 grade point average. We discussed that.
Second.
Have an offer by Ms. Palmer, second by Mr. McGuire. Okay. Hang up was the and versus the or?
No, that's in the next
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, I just wrote this.
right. And as we went through this project here, and Dr. Eloy found out that there was very little difference for us on 1.5. We really
Yeah, what y'all asked me to do after, I think Mr. Shanahan shared his
Right.
concerns, which I think we all felt were valid, was to do a data disaggregation of our current high school athletes to see where this is affecting and impacting, and do we have a problem. We pulled about 300 student grades who are active in a cross section of athletic teams. Of those 300 students, only 10 had grades that were under a 2.0, and so we then investigated those 10 students further, and it came to our attention that those students were still on the roster in J Campus for being there, to go back to Mr. Watson's point of keeping J Campus up to date, but they had actually been removed for sports for a myriad of reasons, whether it was attendance, discipline, and or academics. And so what I stated to you is, I think there was two kind of sides to this discussion. One was Mr. Shanahan said we need to have high expectations and rigorous standards. I think we all agree. Another point of view was that we need to have flexibility with students who athletics are keeping them in schools. What this shows me is that we are kind of navigating that under the current policy. And so I'm not looking to change. I think also Coach Coleman from Nacogdoches Central gave a personal testimony of a young man who was in foster care, and had he not had the flexibility of the 1.5, he never would have been originally eligible, but that 1.5 allowed him to be in athletics and then eventually go above and beyond that 2.0 and then successfully graduate, all while being in foster care.
That's a great example. Any more discussion on this item? Mr. Shanahan, I want to thank you for standing up and saying, hey, we think we need to do better. Offered by Ms. Palmer, second by Mr. McGuire on this item. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Item 7B, motion to approve recommendation from the full board for updates to Assembly Policy 814.70, substance testing and evidence. And I'll offer that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, we have an offer by Pastor Harris. Is there a second out there?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Palmer.
Okay, so the main issue here that Mr. Frady brought to our attention was the utilization of the word or, and we took that out and changed it to and. So they will be suspended from the team for that duration, and they will for that 30 days, and they will have to seek a negative test and counseling.
Do we still need to clean it up on the top, because it says the student and their parents shall either agree to, and then at the bottom it actually says the principal shall notify the superintendent of the choice selected by the student and their parent. Does that just need to come out of there?
If you would like to make a substitute motion to remove with those removal of those words, I think that would possibly clean it all up. But in our last, I don't disagree with you.
I didn't even notice.
I know. I only changed what y'all asked for last time.
Right,
But,
I didn't even notice that was there.
if you want to,
I just don't know if that's gonna, yeah, I mean, I would offer to, remove the student and their parent shall either agree.
student parent shall either agree.
Yeah, I mean, because that either there shows they have a choice.
Okay.
And then at the bottom, the principal shall notify the superintendent of the choice selected by the student and their parent.
So just there, remove the language of choice.
Right.
Right, I mean, it's.
Because I think there's still a need.
Requirements.
They still need to, I would say they still need to, let's keep informed superintendent.
Right, you still need to, right.
But remove choice.
Yeah, because there is no choice.
They have a
anymore
choice to be in or out.
with taking the or out.
Okay, Mr. Frady is offering an amendment. Do we have a second on that amendment?
Second.
Okay, we have, yes. We're gonna vote on the amendment first, but let's talk about it.
And if I messed that up, or y'all help me out.
No, it's good discussion. So Superintendent, can you highlight his offer of changes?
Yes. So starting at the top, help me out, Mr. Frady. I'm looking at this and I'm.
Remove the either.
Where are you at? Are you under test results or first positive result?
First positive result. If you just remove that either.
For the first positive result or unadulterated result, the student and their parents shall either agree. So that should be shall, we just remove either shall agree to in the two bullets.
Okay, that's the first change.
Ms. Ingram, I'm sorry, did you?
We took the or out, so you have to take either out.
Ms. Ingram, when you talking?
She's reading.
Oh, okay, I was like, what did she do? And then I forgot that was mine. You good?
There was a second part.
And then the second part is remove choice. So underneath the second dot, the principal shall notify the superintendent of the choice selected by the student and their parent in additional testing requirements. The principal shall notify the superintendent.
Of the additional requirements.
Well, I mean, of the status. I think we can. The principal shall notify the superintendent of the status of the student.
Yeah, because you just took either out.
Yeah. So the only choice they would have is to not go through with this at all, which is going to result in other stuff. But yeah. Ms. Kanika, are you up to date? Okay.
Okay, board, let's review that again.
So we're removing,
Under first positive result.
not that part,
First
removing
part.
either, and then the principal shall notify the superintendent
Of the status of the students,
status, taking out of the choice of the
Yeah.
status.
of the students, of the student's status or something of that nature. Or keep the superintendent apprised of the situation. I'm sorry, I can't come up with anything right now.
This is Reba's slide. This is where Reba's good.
Yeah.
That's where Reba.
You just want to stop at status of the student
Yeah,
status?
that.
That's where you. Okay, let's keep it simple.
Drug
The
testing
principal
status.
shall.
Is it drug testing status? You can
Oh, the drug testing status?
Well, we're giving them the choice.
No, you don't have a choice. So let's just keep it as status. The principal shall
Status and
inform the superintendent of the student's status.
Eligibility?
pertain.
They shall notify the
That's part of
superintendent
the
of the student.
Yeah, I think-
Of the student's test result.
Say again?
Of the student's test results.
Perfect. Of the status of the student's test results? Just test. I want to slip that status in there somehow.
What about the principal shall notify the superintendent of the compliance by the parent, by the student and their parent?
So just results? Just results. Ms. Ingram said no.
That's not right now.
Principal will inform the superintendent of the student's test results. Drug test results.
Because he took the drug test, right?
Yes.
So they're waiting, right?
Like, why are we, what was the purpose of notifying?
Because it was already written in there.
That's okay.
So we
We
could
had-
just remove.
They had a choice, but now they don't have a choice.
Yeah, but we could just remove, the only reason for notification was about the choice. Now that the choice is gone, just remove the entire thing about communication. Ms. Ingram's looking at me like I'm a third grade student and I made her happy. So how about we just remove that line completely?
Right. Because
Okay.
they had to do it, right? So just take it out.
Okay, so
Mr. Frazier, you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Our amendment, and we're voting on the amendment. We're removing the word first bullet, either, and then we're removing the bottom two lines.
Yep.
all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Since we're complicating these roles, are you through right? Roll call, please. Voting on the amendment.
Hey, I think that's great governance, y'all, just to heat them up.
So we're voting on the amendment?
Yeah.
Yes, we have an offer by Mr. Frazier and a second by Ms. McGaskey on this amendment.
I just made sure everybody read it, everybody. Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benfield?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey? Yes. Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, this item passes.
Yeah, we have to vote on, now we gotta vote on.
Okay.
Right.
Now, roll call on this item. We've amended the motion. Roll call, we need a motion on, no, we don't. We have one from Ms., from Reverend Harris and second by Ms. Palmer on that.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Frager?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number C, discuss and consider revision to the current cell phone policy.
The committee wishes to table this until the special call meeting. This is a huge undertaking and we don't want to rush it. We want to get it right for the students and the parents of our parish.
Okay, offered by Ms. Phelps to table, second by Pastor Harris. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Item number D, discuss and consider approving 24-25 Action Parish School Board Student Handbook. And we have to,
So what you could do is you could allow Ms. Ingram to go through the changes that are already in there. It will not be a completed document to the cell phone policies included, or y'all could table her entire part until June 25th. It's at y'all's.
She's here.
Yeah, and we are too. Let's go.
Did y'all make a
Suggest
motion
you go
on this?
over some of
Yeah,
it
we do.
first.
Any motion to approve this item? Everybody run from it?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
by Mr. Danzy, second by Mr. Frager. Okay.
Okay, so, the changes are in yellow, are highlighted in yellow. I believe the first page of changes, I'm sorry, big evening. On the first changes on page 4, well, besides names and things like that. I can tell you that the page numbers are gonna be different, the table of contents is not gonna be correct, so please don't stick me on that yet. So to the attendance part on page 4, under the truancy part, we did add a sentence that said parents and or guardians are responsible and required by law to ensure any child is not truant. That was an added sentence because we didn't have anything in there as of yet about that. We go on to page 5 under responsibilities and behavior intervention. We just added the section under administrators, basically letting them know we already have this in place, but we wanted to include it in the handbook so that they would know. MTSS is basically also what we refer to as PBIS. It's one of those things that just shifts between words. So PBIS program, MTSS is the same thing, but we wanted to include it in the handbook so parents would be aware of it. The parents are to receive a copy of it at the beginning of the 24-25 school year. And what that includes and what that looks like. Then we go on to page 7.
Okay, Ms. Ingram,
Uh-huh.
when you hand that out, that is considered a review?
Pretty much, yes, sir.
Okay, you said the bullet at the bottom said a review with parents.
Yes, sir. They kind of like it during an open house, go over it,
Okay.
what that looks like. They go over what that is during open house. And then on page 7, there's a short, just kind of telling what our short placement is. Short placement is just a removal of the student from the classroom setting and sending them to an alternative site instead of their home. It is an out-of-school suspension. However, they do not go home. They go to an alternative placement. And just letting our parents know what that is. They do receive credit for any work that they perform. They are allowed to make up or to do their work. And then if they fail to comply with the rules at short placement, then they do receive out-of-school suspension to their home.
So is that a 3-day suspension?
It can be 3, 5.
It can be less.
It could be less. It could be a 1 day. It just depends on what the offense is. And then we have 2 sites for that. So, then the next one is on page. Our next change is on page 13 and 14. So the NPSB fight policy. If there's a strike, that means we're removing that. So this is a change that we discussed, and I will tell you that this part is a mess until I remove it. So I'll make sure that everything is,
And to put a bow on this thing, guys, we talked to the group a lot. The idea is principals still have discretion, but much like I will be informing the community that we're and that sounds melodramatic, but it's true, a war on truancy. We are a war on fighting in our schools. And so this, you will see this is more severe. We will inform parents before the school year, even beyond this. I'll be sending a letter to all parents. But we're just telling them we're not going to tolerate violent fights on our campuses.
We have to, and also, we have to know that a fight, not a verbal altercation. We're talking about physically fighting, more than a punch, more than our fights they're more than just.
And also that they're not, a student defending themselves is
right, different.
Is much different. And we're going to, when we roll this out, we are going to have this year probably a deeper dive into discipline with our principals and assistant principals than we ever have, to make sure that they don't start just expelling everyone for fights.
Right, exactly.
We want this to be more severe, but we also want to use common sense.
So like if,
Yes, ma'am.
so like if a person is defending themselves, their punishment is not going to be
Correct.
as severe as
Or at all.
one who actually instigated
The question is, though, and this is for the principal to decide, and we bring in child welfare, and a lot of us get pulled in on these videos sometimes to say, okay, defend. Oh, now he's kicking him in the face.
Right.
At what point does defense end?
When the officer interjects and pulls that person off who was the victim, do they then go and separate, and then he comes back and becomes the attacker, the aggressor? Then that's not defense anymore, right? But I do want to draw your attention to C and D. Oh no, C, where it is they're recording the fights and then post the fights.
Yeah, now that's a problem.
So, and that goes back to the cell phone issue. So, and that is an issue that we have. So,
And that, so 45 day expulsion on the first
What was
fight.
the policy prior to 45
it's
days?
right. It's still in there. It's just got a strike through from it. It's right above it, Mr. Watson. If you'll just scroll down. So that's why it has a strike through it. The policy before that was students in grades 6 through 12 may receive at a minimum 3 days OSS with the possibility of 5 days out of school suspension.
So we just went big with 45?
Well, when do they all go home?
So I'll be honest
Because
with you.
sometimes they're home and the parent got to take responsibility and accountability.
You're right, but the problem is the federal government doesn't agree with you
Right.
or me. The other problem is, let's talk about Miss Barbie Page when she was in that classroom. The kid goes home for 45 days or however many days, and then they come back and she's still responsible for getting up to snuff. Whereas this, we put them over there and they're still being educated. You know, when
But
me
they
and your
have
kids,
iPads.
I know,
They
but
can go home with assignments.
Well, the
And it's
other-
up to the parent, they have to get the assignment. If they don't, it affects
Some
the
of them
grade.
go
so the other problem is what we've been analyzing.
your house.
We've been analyzing our virtual program as it pertains to students going home. Our kids in virtual who are doing it on their own with their parents are doing well. Our kids who are being sent home due to disciplinary action and are going virtual are collectively doing awful. And so we're trying to get away from that as well. And
But how can we make this accountable, the parent accountable also?
well, I would say when it comes to truancy, I would always hold a parent accountable because especially in a grade below 15, 16 years old, parent needs to get that kid to school. When it comes to fighting, I mean, friend Rhonda raised me right, but to a certain point, they weren't in control of me when I was at school, you know, because I was a scrapper. But no, we want to hold parents accountable, but in this sense, when it comes to fighting, we don't think that's necessarily a complete parent responsibility. We would like to work with them. But, you know, when you and me were kids back in the day, Miss Ted Kidd,
But the
you got to
third
fight.
fight,
They set you home for a whole year.
third fight, 365 days out of school, at an alternative. So the parents still not accountable. Because I'm fighting for just to be fighting. Oh, it's going to be something.
So I'll say this, what we're trying to do is we are trying to make this so severe that we send a message to everyone of what we're not going to take. We're not saying that this is a perfect policy, but what we've done is we took this policy from 2 other districts that kind of had a similar situation. They had a year where they were sick of fighting. It got to the point. And what they told me, these are 2 superintendents who are long serving, very effective. They told me they said, Grant, overnight, between year 1 and year 2, previous policy to new policy, it was like night and day. And so that's what we're looking to do. You know, we're not saying we're plagued with fights, but we believe one fight's too many.
Yeah, but it just looked like y'all sending them to the alternative school to go fight over there.
Well,
Because if they, 45 days automatic suspension, alternative school, okay, they fight again, second fight. Well, the same one fights at the alternative school, what?
At some point, you have to put.
well, so I would say we only have the resources we have. So there are going to be limitations to no matter what we put out there. But what we do in that, we get Miss Felicia's team with Miss Anita, and we try to look and say, okay, 2 kids fight. In some cases, we do it to where we can put them in separate programs over there where they'll never see each other. In some cases, we may go we do all sorts of things that are creative to try to address the problem, but not send the problem to the new place. So.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because we had an issue with that, with them giving the assistance that they need over there at the alternative school with the short program.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have sufficient staffing to help those kids that have been sent there, and they also were not receiving the assignments. So we're just creating a bigger problem.
So,
we haven't provided the resources that they need.
So there's 2 things there, I would say. Number one, Miss Pinckney and her team are going to be looking into this because we believe wholeheartedly that when a sending school takes responsibility of the students they send, they're going to be much less likely to send everyone. Because if I think I can send my kid to the alternative school, and I'm going to pick on Natchitoches Central.
Yeah, you're making it better for the high school.
Well, but here's the deal. If they can kick these kids out and they are not their students, that benefits them. What we're saying is you can remove them because of their behavior, but you are still going to have responsibility. I think that's where your question is.
That's important.
The high school has to maintain responsibility because otherwise, Lee irritates me. He just looks at me sideways. NPTCC. Because I now get to lose accountability for him. But if I maintain accountability for him through, and that's one of the issues right now, I'll be honest with y'all, that we're going to be discussing over the course of the next year. NPTCC has its own site code. And so there is an embedded reason for Natchitoches Central, NGH, Lakeview, whoever, to send their child to NPTCC because you fight and maybe your scores aren't that great, I can shift you over there and you're not my problem. Instead, it should be, I shift you over there because you had a behavior and you are still my responsibility. And what's happened district-wide is when this was originally happening, when NPTCC became its own school code, I think the emphasis in this district for a lot of people was on Natchitoches Central and how it looked, which we should be worried about. Natchitoches Central looked great, but you know what it did to the district as a whole? It took our problems, shifted them from Natchitoches Central, I say problems, our academic issues, shifted them from Natchitoches Central, but made them even worse on the district because we sent them to a place with less resources and expected somehow for them to do more with them than the school with all the resources was intended. So what we're saying here is all the schools should need an outlet, and I see you, Mr. Stewart, I'm just trying to get finished. They all need an outlet to send issues. State Department says that, the governor said that the other day. But they need to maintain accountability, otherwise they will create a dumping ground. And I have to tell you, inadvertently, I think over the past decade, that's what's occurred over there.
It's begun already.
So we are trying to change that.
You got it, Mike.
You cannot send, especially high school students, home for anything. My entire class this year, I had one student that had 2 parents at home. One. You start sending these high school students home without a little computer and expecting them to do that after they've done got kicked out of fighting once and twice,
They're not gonna do
you will lose that student because they're not going to do it.
No.
And there's nobody there to take the responsibility to make them do it. And the only other avenue you have is to send them to the correctional school where they still have guidance every day. And if you realize how many homes in Natchitoches Parish is one parent, or I even had one that their great aunt was raising them. But we have all kinds of situations out here, and you cannot turn a high school student back home with no leadership and supervision at home, because you will lose that student.
And I think what I would add to that too is, many of y'all, I've said already today, I keep bringing up Miss Pinckney about her new role. 50% of her role, and she probably gets sick of me saying this, but I'm saying it over and over because they're equally important. 50% of her role is that truancy, attendance, behavior. The other 50% is we're not bashing the school when we say this. We have to do better at the alternative school, and that comes from not saying, hey, school do better. That comes from us supporting them in the appropriate manner to give them what they need, and that's what Ms. Pinckney is going to be doing. We recognize the handbook is one piece. We have to fix some structures and support those structures in a different way than we ever have in order for that to work. So I can tell you over the course of this year, MPTCC is going to get support on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis that they've never gotten before.
3 years ago, you would ride down Texas Street at 1:45 in the afternoon and saw maroon shirts. That should have been in school, and everybody in this room knows it. And this is a further effort to keep some structure in your life. And Mr. Mike has said it. Of course, the kids he has in his class are high-performing kids.
Correct.
They're high-speed, low-drag kids. They're ready to go. But you provide a kid an outlet. So what do I want to do? Go hang with my friends, or do I want to go sit in front of that laptop or whatever, that tablet? I know where I'm going. Right?
Well, and I think initially during COVID, the idea of virtual suspension, and it's still in vogue, it's not working for our kids. And so we're not pursuing that any further because we look at the data and it's just, in some cases, I think we're doing harm to kids by giving them that option. So.
Okay. The next change is on page 16. Basically, all we did on that page is it says redirection program. We just changed it to alternative. So we struck out redirection and it's going to be called alternative instead now. So students that are expelled will be sent to alternative program. Okay. Then the next change is going to be on page 19. It's just the student alcohol and drug use reporting procedures. This is already in CAPS, so we're just including it in the handbook so that students and parents are aware of what our procedures are. If a student is found in possession of alcohol or under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or if they have they're found in possession of illicit drugs. And then, so it was kind of we already had a statement in there, and that's been removed on the bottom of page 20. We just struck through it. It was just kind of generic of what we would do, but now it's spelled out. Okay.
So when they outlaw vaping, what are we going to do?
No, that's not included in that.
I see it coming up there.
Yeah, it's not considered I mean, it is a drug, but.
I promise you, when you see them all handing that vape pen down the line,
Right.
it doesn't have cherry juice in it.
That's right. That's right. So on page 21, we have changed our discipline procedures in regards to vaping. The old vaping policy is underneath. I can tell you that these big long paragraphs is what we're required by law to put in there according to the American Heart Association and things like that, the wellness policy, and so that is all stayed in there. And so basically what we'll do is for the first offense, it'll be 3 days of in-school suspension for 6 through 12, mandatory and online course, and then suggested outside counseling. Second offense is 5 days out of school suspension, in-school counseling. Third offense is the 45 days automatic expulsion recommendation. The topic did come up, what if it's THC is detected type of thing, because there's not a way to detect that typically unless you took a puff, so, yeah, So anyway, but that's the new vaping that we have. And he just voted for a vaping curriculum for all of our kids 7 through 12 through the Rapides Foundation. So, or 5 through 12 actually. So thank you for that. Any questions on that? And I know it's a lot. On page 22, the drug testing policy that you just voted in, we'll insert it here so that they'll have that as well. It'll go in this section. And then page 26 is your cell phone policy that when you decide upon it, we will we'll put it in there.
I think the last thing is my favorite thing.
And then page 29, there's just a page number change, which that could change. And then Dr. Eloy has allowed shorts for high school students. So shorts will be allowed at the high schools this school year.
The reasoning is, it is extremely hot for the first 3 months of school and the last month of school. I don't know why we trust 8th graders to wear shorts, but 10th graders can't, so.
I don't know why we ever stopped.
Yeah.
Have you seen the length of those
become-
shorts?
Well,
They become
the
too
short,
short.
the short length is already in there and it's mandated, it's already been in policy.
Yeah.
But understand, that is
They're
always
not
an
gonna follow
issue.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Now with uniforms, have we changed what they can wear, the tops? 'Cause
The only thing there is the spirit shirts, which I think y'all had concerns with last year because some schools were implementing it and some were not. I can tell you moving forward, all the schools will have an option for spirit shirt moving forward, as opposed to, I think last year, there was at least one that, I'm sorry, at the high school level.
What
High
I
school.
was told that spirit, used to be spirit shirts were just on Friday, but now they say if you buy them from Poses, you can wear them, the spirit shirt that's not essential to Poses.
So I've told.
You can wear it every day, so why do we even have a uniform policy if you're gonna wear a spirit shirt every day? Let's just go let them wear a t-shirt if we're gonna start with that stated. I thought uniform, you're supposed to wear a uniform shirt.
Well,
But if you're gonna wear spirit, if a principal gonna let somebody wear a spirit shirt the whole week, that's defeating the uniform policy.
So first, I would say, I don't think we have a uniform policy. I would say our friends at St. Mary's have a true uniform policy. We have a dress code policy that's pretty restrictive. Statewide, you've started to see in the past 5 years, especially at the high school level, somewhat to the junior high, but really only those two, the schools start to expand into the spirit shirt because I think people recognize that even the collared shirt really isn't, it's not like it's helping our behavior or anything like that. In terms of, I think there was an issue, I believe it was 2 years ago, where schools were opening shops, which is fine. They can open a shop with Posies and Fishers and all that. But the issue was that some of them were saying you had to wear the Posey shirt or the Fisher shirt. We have informed them that that is illegal, that they can do what they want with, say they open a shop with Posies. They have to, because what typically happens is, because they're both smart business folks, Fishers gets Lakeview and then Posey sees what Fishers is putting out, so they put some of those shirts in their storeroom and vice versa. I don't care where they get the shirt from, as long as it is the approved shirt, and each school has different approved shirts. It doesn't matter which store it came from. So that was the first issue, and I don't know if that was your concern, Mr. Matoir. The reason I'm for the spirit shirts is because my personal opinion is I don't feel like we have a true uniform policy in the sense that like a private school does. And I also feel that the spirit shirts brings us a sense of pride, and it's one small way that a student can express themselves while still conforming, and it gives them some flexibility while promoting school pride and culture.
Well, if we're gonna do away with the uniform shirt, let's just let them start wearing jeans, do away with the uniform pants. So we tell them that they can wear any kind of shirt, but they have to wear certain pants, so let's just do away with uniform completely.
You're not gonna find any fight with me, because I think uniforms don't do us any good, but that's up to the...
We went to uniform years and years ago for unity, that where if somebody came into school, you knew the kids from somebody else, but now you don't know who they are, so why are we enforcing uniform policy as long as they got a nice pair of jeans on, they all toe up, but that's how they like them. You know, let them wear jeans, you know?
So I thought I was
How you
being-
work with the uniform, if we're gonna get away from the uniform shirt and the, you know,
You start talking about
wearing a
safety, you
t-shirt.
start talking about safety issues again. You start talking about safety issues again. I thought that was part of the reason we went into uniforms.
Well, that was the reason we had the t-shirt, the shirts for, safety issue, that if, the policeman or somebody came in the room, that they knew who was who.
So my understanding of the history behind all this is, because I was a student when Columbine happened, in year one, Columbine happens, everyone freaks out, they give us ID badges. That's gonna fix everything. Year two, ID badges, tuck in your shirts. Year three, ID badges, tuck in your shirts, and uniforms. I thought it was a fool's errand from the get-go because, and I think history has shown that out, because if anything, those type of events have only increased in nature, they haven't decreased. So I think their original intent was everyone kind of a knee-jerk reaction to a horrific event. But you're never going to find a enemy when talking about dress code, because there's no research that you can cite that'll show that it improves anything. I do think it's something that schools enjoy the uniformity because they can address students in some of these issues, but the more rules we put in place about whether it be dress code or anything, the more things that principals and teachers have to check. But that's, all that is at the will of the board if y'all want to, I don't think there's enough juice in the squeeze to go after it, but if y'all want to, I mean.
The spirit shirt is usually just one design.
So, it depends on the school. For instance, Natchez Central, I think they have one design that can be worn as a t-shirt, hoodie, not hoodie, sweatshirt or long sleeve tee. I've been told that, you know,
But they all have the same design.
And
Yes.
they're all one color.
Yes.
All one color, same design, or the polo uniform.
Yeah. I know, like, the lab schools, they change from year to year, and sometimes I sneak my kid in with the old one because I'm too cheap to buy the new one, and I don't get caught. But for the most part, they're uniform in that sense. Miss Kenny is shaking her head at me. I just can't get it right.
But these days, it doesn't matter, because if anybody wanted to do anything, they could put on a uniform and come in.
I can ask, I do know that under the high schools, it says color. So if it's a spirit shirt, like under Natchez Central, it says will be maroon only. So their spirit shirts do match the tops that way. But if you want to add under tops maybe Oxford style or polo style, or we could say spirit shirt, but then I have to make sure that it fits whatever schools have spirit shirts. So I just need we can make that change since it's stable to the 25th. If that's something you wish.
For them to be color coded, is that what you're asking?
Or, we can add that.
The only thing I'll throw the wrench in the thing is I think some of them already opened their
If we
school
don't
stores.
have,
Yeah,
if we don't have spirit shirt in the uniform policy, we need to add spirit shirt in the uniform policy. Because they really and truly, you could, some principal or some teachers could say that that child breaking the policy just to pick at that child. And, because, they don't have the, that on.
Well, and I
I
think,
think it's in there right now. School shirts are allowed at the discretion of the principal, and that's what they're referring to there, is the spirit shirt.
but y'all also brought up an issue last year that there were outliers where
Oh, it isn't.
everyone else in the parish was wearing spirit shirts and some schools didn't. And so I don't know if y'all wanted to address that as well, to where, you know,
I think it should.
Well, they weren't because the principal wouldn't allow them.
Yeah, because some schools have had more dress code issues than others. That's why the spirit shirt was taken away,
Yeah.
because it became a big problem.
Yeah, it says school t-shirts.
Right.
yeah.
School t-shirts are allowed at the discretion of the principal. So that's kind of generic.
But to Mill's point, if you could add some more verbiage, must match school colors, whatever, is that something that,
Yeah, because I don't think you want Natchez Central wearing like lime green. I mean, then potentially they could.
right now it's unwritten.
Okay.
Mill got a good point there.
Match school colors.
Well, it has to be, let's say, approved school t-shirts. Would that work?
Yeah.
Approved school t-shirts?
Natchez Central has the cheap tradition shirts.
Right.
And every one of those kids wear those shirts. You see them all over town.
Well, because it's approved by the principal and says you can wear these. Yeah. Okay, I'll ask her sometime.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, shorts, yes, and shorts have to be the 4 inches.
And we've actually had skirts at all times.
Skirts have
but
been
no
in
one's
the
utilized
policy since the beginning, actually. For those of you, they were very shocked. The skirts have always been in the policy. That there's no skirts, no one wears skirts. But Mr. Coleman was very shocked that skirts were.
Wait, you mean there's nothing here on hair? Come on.
No, we're not discussing it. On page 31.
We do have bell bottoms, slacks, shorts, okay.
On page 31, we have completely removed, we've already discussed, that's shorts.
Yeah.
We just completely removed the whole corporal punishment part.
because y'all voted on that last year.
Yeah. Then I think our, last thing is, on page 35, this was an oversight by me, and I pray I have this to you. I will have this with you on the 25th. We're gonna have an appendix A. I don't know, I've never seen that before. I read this every year and lots of times, of a list of schedule of fees that every school charges. We're supposed to have that in the back. And then the next page is page 36. We will have, it's just a year date change. And then I don't think I highlighted this because I don't know the page numbers yet, but the very last, on page 46, 47, there will be some changes, and I did not highlight it. So on page 46, if you look at the bold, it says condition, keep going, right there. I'll highlight the changes that we'll make and add. We've made a change to the fighting policy, the drug policy, like I'll add all those in there, but I didn't know what pages and if you are voting on them yet. So there will be changes to this as well. Of like, so before parents sign this, that yes, we've read all those changes. We noticed that because they have to sign this and turn this in if they received the handbook and they saw it.
So you're calling to mind all the biggies?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Yes. All right, so we're tabling this item to the 25th? Mr. Deasy, would you like to amend your motion to table?
I would.
Mr. Frady, would you like to amend, it's been so long, would you like to second that?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of table, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, say
That concludes executive report.
aye.
Oh, I got some more stuff. I tried.
The lawyers in the back will disagree with
They've been
you.
sitting here, you know what, you been telling, no, I've been here 3 hours.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get out of this and get
Discuss and consider entering into an executive session.
to, do we have an offer? Wait now, I heard an echo down there.
I'll second.
Okay, offered by Mr. McGuire,
Offer in
second
a
by
second.
Pastor Harris, to enter into executive session. Roll call vote, Ms. Roberts.
Give me just a second to finish up the table.
Can I make an announcement?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're having our back to school expo again. I just wanted to tell you when the date is. It's on July the 17th. So that was the thing we had at Prather Coliseum last year. If you know anybody that wants to make a donation, you have some contacts or anything like that. We have some letters for that, exhibitors. If you have places you want to put flyers, I'm just going to leave them right here. Or if you know people that want to do a booth, I have some of those. So I'll just leave all those steps right here and get that to me. But it's on July 17th. I know it's a little early, but we had to work with Prather, and that was the date available. So we would love to have you come, and that's our big expo. So I just want to put that out there, put it on your calendar. Don't go on vacation.
What time is that? Times?
Oh, time is 4:30 to 6:30.
Thank you.
Here, I'll-
4:30 to 6:30. Yes.
Y'all get that?
Share it on.
It's always hard to-
Okay, Ms. Kanika's ready.
Okay, roll call vote.
Mr. Danzig?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Prater?
Yes.
And Ms. Page? Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you. We are in executive session if we can ask